If you are a parent in the state of Georgia, I know that this is the livelihood of your children and the safety and security of your children matter a lot. It's one of the preeminent things that's probably in your mind. And so when we hear statistics like we heard last fall about Georgia being one of the nation's worst cities for childhood trafficking of minors, partially due to Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, but just there's a lot of momentum, fluid mobility going in and out of Atlanta. When you hear the stories about that, when you hear the stories about MySpace pages and children being hooking up with someone they thought was innocent, just another teenager that they were flirting with, and then it happens to be an adult who's a sex offender on the prowl, you hear these stories and they just scare you. And I'm joined today by Eric Brown. Eric Brown is the president of the Homeland Security Foundation of America to talk a little bit about this and a child security initiative child safety initiative that they have going on in 2008. Eric, welcome to Morning in Atlanta.
Thank you for having me, Joel.
Now, tell me specifically what you do here as we jump right into it for child safety and protection. It's a campaign that your organization is sponsoring this year in Georgia, CSP 2008 Georgia. Tell me a little bit about it and how you plan to get the word out, what your goals are.
Well, we're working to partner with individuals like yourself and radio and organizations in the community to get the word out about this campaign. And our primary objective is to build awareness of the types of crimes against children that are really increasing here in Georgia, and to equip families with the information and child safety resources that they need to effectively defend against these predators in the community.
What are if you had to think of two or three of the top that from the study that you have done, what really rises to the surface right now? You're seeing negative trends in Georgia.
I think, of course, and specifically looking at child sexual exploitation and child trafficking, we see a trend where technology is really increasing and enabling these predators to increase their capacity. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. The Internet and its power is really in a situation where it makes it difficult for law enforcement to investigate and to bring the responsible parties to justice, as well as enabling children to very freely communicate with strangers, and in all of these situations, most of the time the child thinks that they're dealing with someone who, like you say, is very innocent, whose intentions are genuine, and unfortunately that is just not the case.
Well, and it seems like the privacy the same privacy rights rules that we have in place that are certainly necessary for protecting your privacy in your own home can actually work against and in some cases provide an impetus or an environment that these kinds of things can move forward. Not to mention, we hear about all these software that you can install on your computer as a parent that monitor your child's internet activity. But a lot of these things, they're not catching things like MySpace pages and Facebooks and social networking sites.
Absolutely.
So.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, what was your, what have you found to work best, recommendations for parents that want to curtail this kind of thing?
I think awareness is really the key. Unfortunately, the time spent in privacy on the Internet for a child cannot always be monitored, and predators really do their best to take advantage of any window of opportunity to exploit our children. And so I think awareness is really the key, and educating families on how to deal with who's on the other side of the Internet or telephone or email, and making sure that they understand the gravity of this situation and the types of crimes and activities that are occurring right here in Georgia.
What's the level?
I think that's very important.
Yeah, and what's the level of runaways? You hear about children, running away from home, and a lot of parents wonder what went on, what happened. It was happening right under my nose. How come this volatility between myself and my child? What can you tell a parent like that if they, when they discover, aside from, the search that's going on, how do you avoid that kind of thing? How do you recognize red flags ahead of time?
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little feedback here. No, it is difficult many times to recognize that there are issues with a particular child. A lot of times, once an incident has occurred, and you lead to a situation where there's a missing and or runaway child, the parent can look back and see particular signs. But it's really a challenge to know when something is going wrong a lot of times. So, and that's why, again, if we're educating families on the signs to look for, some of the activities that they may see, certain email activities, change in behavior, those are the types of signs that I would recommend any parent look for. And then, of course, there are some things that parents can do, resources they can pull together, like a child resource, a child safety resource, a child ID that the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children recommends that parents have. So if there is an incident, then the parent can respond quickly, get law enforcement the information that they need to find that child and bring them home safely.
Well, and one of the things I've heard before is that you actually put the child's parent's number into their cell phone using the word ICE. Obviously doesn't stand for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, but that if the child is lost, that the officer or perhaps is found with a concussion or some way where they can't respond, to find the parent and they have no other ID on them but a cell phone, you can actually, police and law enforcement agencies will look for ICE in the phone. Is that correct?
Absolutely, and that will allow them to immediately contact the parent or caregiver or whomever that particular cell phone number or contact number belongs to. And those are the types of things that parents should be looking for and really combine those types of setups along with child safety resources and educational materials that put them on the right track for protecting their family and safeguarding against this type of activity. And the thing is that, a child can go missing for a number of reasons, and obviously there are some that are in the the media, like kidnapping and child sexual exploitation. But a natural disaster could split a family up. Mm-hmm. And so you need to have ways to identify your child and work with responders and search crews to be able to find your child quickly in a natural disaster as well. So. Yeah,
when the unforeseen becomes a reality. Eric Brown is with the Homeland Security Foundation of America. If you want more information on that, you can go to their website, hsfamerica.org, and get more information on the services that they provide as a part of the Campaign for Child Safety and Protection right here in Georgia. Eric, I want to thank you for joining us on Morning in Atlanta this morning.
Thanks again for having me, Bill.
All right.
The Voice of Atlanta. You're listening to Atlanta's only Town Hall Panel on Morning in Atlanta with Joel Aaron.